What was that like being back with your team on the ice when the calendar says it's mid-July?
Yeah, obviously it's a bit of a strange situation. I mean, there's a lot of that last few months though. But at the same time, there was a ton of excitement and really good energy. I think everyone was just excited to see each other and get back out on the ice together.
Yeah, you talk about the last couple months. What for you was that like? Obviously, you've had postseasons in the past that have lasted this long, but this is unlike anything that anybody has ever experienced. How would you summarize what these last 4 months were like for you?
Yeah, I think strange, very strange. I mean, it's been strange for everyone. It's been unorthodox for everybody. But to have the opportunity to play a little playoff hockey now and to get back on the ice, considering what's going on in the world, I mean, it's pretty easy to understand why everyone is so energized and ready to go.
For you, the calendar actually helped because we remember seeing you get injured in Philadelphia. What was your rehab like? What did you do to come back? Because there was talk that had the sport not shut down in mid-March, you probably would have come back a lot earlier than expected. What was the rehab like for you?
Yeah, I was probably going to come back a little sooner than I should have. Not a ton of rehab early on, just a lot of rest, a little bone stim, trying to be on a kind of a vitamin regimen that would help it heal faster and heal correctly. And then a little bit of mobility work and soft tissue work just to make sure everything was firing. But it's amazing what one little bone in your foot can do to the rest of your body. So, you kind of have to make sure that all the muscles working up the chain aren't fatiguing out, and you have to kind of strengthen everything from below the knee to that hip there. So there was a little bit of rehab, but not as much as with other injuries I've had in the past. So,
how much ice did you get in the last 4.5 months or so?
I mean, I try to get on the ice a handful of times. Obviously, you want to observe the proper protocol, and you don't want to step on any toes. But the minute we could get on the ice, I was trying to get back on the ice, trying to get my foot in the boot. It definitely wasn't the most comfortable early on, especially when I was trying to push it and come back a little early. But after a few minutes in the boot, it kind of would settle down. So, but now it doesn't bother me at all, and it's kind of an afterthought. So.
You've experienced playoff hockey so many times, so you know what everybody always talks about is the amount of intensity on the ice and in the building. How are you going to be able to replicate the intensity that playoff hockey brings when there is no crowd to feed off of?
Yeah, obviously the crowd is an enormous part of playoff hockey, and what makes it so exciting, right? But on that same token, guys know what's at stake. I mean, we've had a pretty long layoff. We're going to have, 2.5 weeks of camp. No one wants to play 3 or 4 games and then get sent packing until January or whenever we might start next year, right? There's a lot of questions, a lot of unanswered stuff in the air right now. So, and no one wants to come here, work hard for 2.5, 3 weeks, and then be told that you're off for another 4 or 5 months. So, I think anytime there are elimination games, and tomorrow isn't guaranteed, I think the intensity is going to be there.
What do you think is going to be the biggest challenge for a hockey player inside the bubble?
That's a good question, because normally in playoffs, it really feels like a bubble anyways. I mean, you stress rest and recovery, and you're ripping off games every other day, and games of obviously incredibly high intensity games. And you end up just kind of hanging out at the hotel and hanging out with your teammates in the hospitality room there, and trying to get as much food and water in you as you possibly can. And just, I mean, that's honestly some of the best memories that I have from our playoff runs. You're not really going out to dinner a whole lot. There's a lot of team dinners at the hotel. So normally there's a little bit of back and forth. Obviously, the longest you're on the road is 5 or 7 days, and then you're coming back. And so it'll be a little weird if we're able to go on a nice little run here to stay in the same place for a while. I think the biggest challenge, I know that a lot of guys like their pregame walks, and they like to be able to get out and move around a little bit. And I'm not sure that that'll be available to us, at least early on. So might have to do a few flights of stairs within the hotel just to loosen up on game day.
And another part that's so different than anything you've ever done, you're going to have at least a couple of games that start at noon. What's the adjustment there?
Try to go to bed a little bit earlier and get up and eat as much as you can. It's always kind of strange when you have a matinee. You're always, because you think about it, you eat breakfast and then you're not eating again until 4 or 5, right? So there's a big chunk of time where you're just not getting any nutrition. So it will be a bit of an adjustment, but at the same time, that's our first game. So it's not like we're on that night schedule of 7 and 8 o'clock starts, and then we have the matinee thrown in. So hopefully it'll be a little bit easier to adjust than the occasional, 12, 3 o'clock start on a weekend when you're ripping off 7 and 8 o'clock starts.
Does what you guys have done against the Carolina Hurricanes, not only this year, but in recent years, does it matter at all this time around?
No, not at all. I mean, your last game really doesn't have any effect on your next game, especially when you're going into a playoff series. I mean, both teams are completely healthy. Both teams are well rested. Both teams are in various shapes and various forms of conditioning. So, I mean, we're just going to prepare for them like we would prepare for a playoff series normally. We go over our pre-scout, try to get ourselves in the best shape possible, and then put our best foot forward. But they're obviously an incredible team, a lot of depth, a lot of size, a lot of maturity, a lot of skills. So we're going to have our hands full. And it would not behoove us to hang our hats on anything that we accomplished during the regular season, because I mean, you and I know as well as anyone that regular season, all well and good, but you can throw that body and work out the window once the playoffs starts. It's a completely different game. I mean, in the regular season, games are fast, plays are big, plays are physical, pucks are bouncing. Pretty helpful if you're letting your line mate or your teammate know what he's got. And obviously that really applies to playoff hockey, right? Because it's that much faster, that much more physical. The ice usually isn't that great. So the more that we can talk and help each other out and give each other information, I think the quicker that we'll be able to kind of find that chemistry and that comfortability we had with each other.
You'll be able to hear each other a lot easier on the ice too, right?
That too.
Chris, how close do you think it got to not having this opportunity? Did you give serious thought to the fact that this may not happen? And therefore, does it make this time right now a little bit more special while it's unique?
In reference to the
fact that you're playing hockey in July now and you're battling for the Stanley Cup.
Yeah. I mean, there were ebbs and flows and points when you thought, maybe it won't happen, maybe it will. But I kind of took the same mentality that I always take in, where, my lifestyle doesn't really change. At that point in the summer, regardless of whether or not this would have happened, I would have been working out and trying to get ready for the season. So I tried to do some of the same things. To be honest, in the summers, I don't really go anywhere but the gym, the rink, in my house anyways. So not a whole lot changed. But yeah, it's one word that's been thrown around a lot the last few days is opportunity. I mean, we were on the outside looking in. We had a little stretch run there at the end of the season where we might have been able to punch our ticket, but now we've for all intents and purposes punched our ticket. We obviously have the 5-game series, but we have an opportunity here, and in a situation that you probably never see again.
And an opportunity as well to represent New York, which is a city that was ravaged by coronavirus. You've been in New York your entire professional life. Is there an extra special element of these playoffs, knowing that you'll be giving people who have been through a whole lot an opportunity to have a little bit of a release and a little bit of something positive to look at?
100%. I mean, I obviously grew up in Massachusetts. Spent most of my time in and around Boston, but New York's my home. Like you said, I've been here my entire professional career, and it's been difficult to see what the city's gone through, and to talk to people in and around the community, and to see them get excited that we're going back, and to be able to put a product on television that they can watch and cheer for and get excited about, and what's been a very, very trying and difficult time. I mean, it's a lot bigger than just winning hockey games right now. And I think guys understand that. So really looking forward to representing the city to the best of our abilities.